Welcome to AIW Empowers interview series. I'm so happy to welcome our guest, Rana Mustafa. Thank you so much for joining me today, Rana. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's completely my pleasure. So let's talk about your journey. Can you describe your current job?
Of course. So I am a food scientist and I am working as a business and innovation lead. I help researchers to do their research in food security. And I'm a leadership coach. I empower people, science professionals. I help them build their personal brand and improve their professional skills so they can be the go-to expert in their field.
Wow. Okay, so that sounds like you have your hands in a few pots. Can you travel back with us to the start of your career? How did you begin and how did you get to where you are now doing these different things in these great areas?
Yeah, well, it goes back to my, in fact, grade 12. I wanted to be a physician. However, my family's financial situation was not great. So my dad said to me, listen, if you want to go and be a physician, that's fine. But you have your brothers. I have 5 brothers. And it might be a little bit difficult for me to support you all. And in fact, for me, like being a physician was the desire to be in contact with people and helping them.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that how can I help other people and I am not able to help my brothers? So I need to shift, I need to change. So in fact, I gave up on my first goal. And through my research, I found out that there is a new faculty where they teach food engineering and stuff like this. So I said, oh, food engineering. Yeah, we can live without everything except food. So yeah, I can create impact. So I went and I started my journey and I became a food engineer. And then, of course, I continued my education. I had master's and a PhD in food science. And it's very recent. Like I have been wearing that hat as a food scientist. I was university professor for more than 10 years. And when I moved to Canada, I continued working in food science related research, food innovation, until I had my cancer last year. And this was a turning point where I decided to go into being a professional coach. So this is the change between a food scientist and a leadership coach, a journey between different things. But I think the things that is common is always my purpose, my desire to be in service to others and share the gift that I have.
That's immediately what came to mind. I think when you were talking is the want to make an impact for the better in people's lives. Do you think it's something that will continue to evolve in the rest of your career with, your coaching as well as, education wise? Do you see perhaps another development at some point in your future?
Yeah. So, see, let me in fact, when I reflect on my life, I always noticed that I really have a gift. Like I am someone who is very dedicated. I work hard. I can handle difficult situations. And this is something that some other people may not feel they have the same capacity to just work hours and hours to, at the end of the day, share this story that will inspire some people. So knowing and being self-aware that I have this gift make me always pursue different goals. And compared to my age group, I felt that I am doing something good. And this is why when I was a student, I had goals. And when I was a university professor, I always find different goals. And now in my midlife, like I will be 50 at the end of, or starting at the start of October. So I feel that for my age group, I have different goals and I can inspire other people. And I see the same even when I am 60 and 70. So I feel that there will be always goals that I am going to follow and try to achieve, and they will be always inspiring other people, maybe younger, but sometimes also same age group.
Mhm.
So this is why I feel that I always have goals until the end of my life.
I love that. It's, you know, a lifetime journey that you're on. And
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. I want to shift the direction a little bit of the conversation just for a little bit. Can you think back and kind of tell us about mistakes that you made early in your career?
Mhm. Yeah. So I think there was a few mistakes related to me being strong enough to say no.
Mm.
Because in fact, I grew up in a culture where my family, my dad, specifically my mom, supported me to go to education and be different from other girls who choose to just like other women. Their job is finally to be at home. This is what they teach you when you are like growing up. Whatever you do, even if you are a physician, your job is to be a wife and to bring kids. So for me, I did like, yes, I like to have kids, but it was not something that was my priorities. Like my priority was to go further in my career, learn more, pursue education. So, but I know that I took so many decisions um, where because I felt that I cannot handle the societal standard. Um, so, for example, when I went when in fact I did my PhD in France, and I'm originally from Syria, so I decided to go to France to do my PhD. Of course, I had a scholarship. I had really some like support to go there and get my PhD, but I had my daughter who was 1 year old.
Wow.
And her dad was not supportive for me to take her with me. Like I took her for 1 year, but he really didn't want me to keep the daughter. He couldn't join me. So, and my family supported me to just, okay, continue your education because this is what we want you to do, but keep your daughter with us. We will raise your daughter. I don't regret that I made that decision because I was able to finish my education. But at the same time, I consider it as a mistake because I could have resisted and say, no, I
Mhm.
want my daughter with me because she's my baby. I want her with me. I can do my education with her. And if her dad wanted us to be all together, we can arrange he can join us. But I was under the family pressure, so I couldn't keep my daughter.
Mhm.
And I felt that I could have been strong enough to say no. And I felt that that affected my daughter's life, my relationship with in my marriage, which was kind of on troubles, and we were separated later. So all of that, I think just listening too much to the pressure of the societal norm at certain points of my life held me back.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's something a lot of people probably relate to. how did you, I may not be using the right word, but how did you grow out of it? Did it come with age and experience, or do you find you really had to deconstruct where that came from? Or is it something you're still working on, as I'm sure people still are?
Mm-hmm. See, when I came back to Syria, I was a university professor, and during my PhD, and not being able to keep my daughter and being stuck in the middle of that PhD because I had financial obligation to the government who gave me the scholarship, so I cannot go back to Syria. I need to continue. So I felt I'm stuck. But the journey of being away of my daughter taught me so many lessons. So the pain, I think the pain, it's like the butterfly um, metaphor, you can say. The pain taught me how to stand up for my values, for what I want, for what I think is better for me and my family in general,
Mm-hmm.
and discuss the options and what are the worst case scenario if I keep my daughter, right? If I would like if I kept my daughter. So anyway, I think that painful experience taught me how to um, negotiate, how to communicate with people differently, how to say no. And that, in fact, at the end of that journey, it was a decision. It was a decision that I will never, ever say or do something to just please others,
Mm-hmm.
even though they are my family, it's the society. I will not do that I will do the opposite exactly. I will be the leader of that movement of change. And honestly, I did that in every single day when I was a university professor. So many girls came to me and say, "Oh, but my family, my parents want me to get married, and they say that no matter what you do, at the end you will be a wife and a mom." And my message to them, I'm here to support you. You will first finish your education, get something in your hand, because in this life you need something to rely on in case anything happens in life. Imagine you have a wonderful husband, but the husband left you or died or wherever. How do you envision your life? So, and then what happened during the Syrian war, a lot of men were killed. And a lot of girls and my previous students came to me and thanked me, thanked me for what I did for them, encouraging them to pursue their education, supporting them emotionally at all levels. So I think that painful experience that I lived when I was doing my PhD helped me to grow into a stronger, more aware, more conscious person.
And a role model. Yes.
Yeah.
So staying on the same track, I guess, not mistakes, but is there a weakness that you have that has impacted your career? It can be in a good way or in a bad way.
Well, this is this is a very interesting question. Of course, all of us, like any one of us, will feel some weakness. My aha moment was when I discovered my weakness. And you guess what? It came very late that I discovered it.
Okay.
Because I was always successful. Like, I'm an achiever. I succeeded in at the university, was top graduate. I went to France. I was a very successful university professor, publications, international conferences. When I decided to leave Syria, I got a work permit with funds to come do my research in Canada. So I was always in many ways you can consider I was successful, but inside me I felt that there is something, I don't know what, Wrong. Weakness. I don't know what kind of weakness, but they were bothering me.
Mm.
So, and in fact, last year, I started a coaching program. It's called Positive Intelligence. And I discovered that my weakness is being hyperachiever. So
Okay.
being absolutely, it's very late, but it's good. At least I discovered it. So being a hyperachiever, so being an achiever, this is great to be an achiever. This is a gift that I'm embracing, I am happy with. However, sometimes it came a little bit more than what I need to do. So I take responsibilities for more projects that I can handle. I volunteer in so many organizations. I try to help so many people. And at the end of the day, I do not have time for myself. I'm very committed to my family, to my kids, etc., etc. So that hyperachiever came in the way of my happiness or joy or relaxation or even just sitting, doing nothing. I say, okay, I don't need to think about what I need to do next, right? So I think after discovering that weakness, I felt that, you know what, let me just be also a role model in being a successful female scientist, but someone who can just find the time to go to dance, to do things different from achievement all the time. And I think that helped me not only to feel that I am calm, it helped me to produce different quality of work compared to before.
That's so interesting because one of my questions was going to be, I can imagine how difficult that could be to discover that about yourself and not only have to learn to relax and not do anything, which can be very difficult, but also to start being okay with not producing. But then you saying that it led to you in being more productive or having better production that you had in the past. That is so very interesting. So it really did impact your life positively. By
Absolutely.
realizing that.
Because being self-aware that this is a gift that I have, being an achiever, it's a gift that I consider it is a gift, but now how to prioritize so I can do the things that matters first. But I also learned prioritizing time management. So for example, going to see a friend, this is in my calendar. This class for like Latin dance, I love Latin dance. This is in my calendar. I consider it like any other project that I'm working on. And in this way, I felt I am really able to balance things and achieve more at the end.
That's really lovely. And I think it's something that people are uncomfortable with sometimes, is that balance, looking at that list of that to-do list, and then thinking, well, now I should cancel. I'm going out with friends. I should cancel. I need to get this done. Maybe the dishes are dirty. Maybe something is due in 2 days. But then when you remove yourself from your social life and the things outside of work that you don't enjoy, it impacts your professional life in a way that you wouldn't expect because it affects you mentally. It affects your emotional and your mental state of well-being. And sometimes you don't realize it for a very long time. And by the time you do, you're so impacted that you can't really understand why you are at that point. And so I'd love to know if you would like to share, how did you make that realization finally? How did it come to you?
Well, as I mentioned, in fact, like I read a lot, but what I discovered through positive intelligence. So positive intelligence, it's a coaching program that was designed a few years ago, and it helps people to discover what the coaching program call saboteurs. So every one of us have some internal voice that come sometimes into our way of achieving things or living life. So some people, for example, deal with workload by avoiding them. I was a pleaser in the past, and we talked about it, right? So some people become hyperachiever like me, or for example, controller. They just want to control everything. So that program that helped me to get that realization. And also, so I loved the program. I did the coaching program and the training, and now I am working towards my certification in positive intelligence. They consider every one of us need that mental fitness. It's exactly like when we go to the gym. I know that every one of us want to build a new habit, good habits, good discipline, enjoy our life. The issue with everything I noticed so far that it's hard to build those habits. Everyone knows that, right? So you read something, it's easy to get that awareness. Yeah, like I need to have some me time in my schedule, but it's always hard to apply. It's easy to say, hard to apply. In that program, there is there are different steps to do, and what happens is we consider that we ourselves we need to build our mental fitness exactly the same way that we do when we go to the gym to build our muscles. So how to build our fitness and mental muscles? You need minimum of 6 weeks practice.
To
So
build a habit.
absolutely. So we, for example, if I am hyperachiever, so I will, so when you start the program, you will feel like I felt those voices. I need to do this. I need to do this. And then I started to be aware of certain voices which are lies. Like I worked so hard. I worked 8 hours or 6 hours. Why do I need now to work more? So being aware of those internal voices and say, you know what? No, now it's time with my family. And practice being aware, practice taking a breath, taking breaks to just reflect. Because this is what we need. Like what I discovered that when we are very busy, we don't take that 1 minute to reflect on what we did and how we did it, and if we need to adjust. So the program helped me to gain all this self-awareness and have more balance in my life compared to before.
It's great that it's kind of like a process in place to get to that point. I'm sure, as an individual person, just tackling that seems such a huge task. And it's introspection is uncomfortable. So it could be really easy to just do a little bit of it and say, oh, look, I can't anymore. I'm not going to today or tomorrow, I'm going to go work today instead of doing that. So let's shift a little bit. No doubt you've been incredibly successful and you've accomplished a lot. Is there one or two things that you attribute to your success factor?
Well, thank you for this question. I think I can summarize those factors in firstly self-awareness, like being self-aware that I have a gift and I want to use it. And secondly, being determination and perseverance. So I set up goals and I know that I'm an achiever. I like to finish what I am doing. So I think being dedicated to my goals helped me so much. The third point I can say is the support and relationships. So I was so lucky to have a wonderful mom, wonderful mother who always inspired me to change my life through education. So we were poor. I lived, as I mentioned before, in a society where the position of women is not like in the West. But my mom always encouraged me and says to me, the only option to change your life is to pursue your education. And this is very important because I heard it later from other moms. If you want to change your life and you are a little bit beautiful, get married a rich man. That's it. My mom and dad were the opposite. We
That's
want
amazing.
you to, absolutely. And in my community, education for girls, I am from a minor community in Syria. And for our community, education for girls is very, very important. And the guidance is if you don't have money, if you are poor and you have two kids, a boy and a girl, and you don't have money to send both to education, so you choose the woman, the girl, because she will be the foundation of the new family, of the future. So educating this girl will educate the whole family. A man, because of our societal norm, will go out. He will learn through life experience.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities for girls are less, therefore education for them is more important. So see, this support helped me to just follow on my goals. And later on, through my work, my job, my business now, I feel that networking and fostering meaningful relationships was very helpful. I always try to surround myself by positive people, people who believe in me and support me. Having that support circle is very important. And I think the last point I can say, I am not afraid or I am not ashamed of asking for help. I ask for help all the time. And I consider it as a very important point in managing life difficulties and challenges. If I feel I need to cry and I need to talk to someone, I just call my friend. If I feel that, you know what, I need to go and see the social worker or my therapist, I will go. I am human at the end. And then asking for help brings more collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing vulnerability make people trust you more because you are a human, you are not a superhero. So I think all of those contributed to my success.
And I think even just by saying that, but your work at the university and what you're doing now, you've demonstrated a lot of leadership skills. And in our previous conversation, you had mentioned the importance of leadership skills in everyday life. Could you expand on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what I call, or I believe it's self-leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that every one of us need to lead their life. So for example, I told you about my mistake when I was a pleaser or I couldn't say no. I felt that I was not leading my life as it should. So leadership skills, how can you, think of a leader, how can they lead others if they cannot lead their own life? Take an example, a doctor who tells you, oh, you need to eat healthy and you don't, for your heart health, you should not smoke. And you see him in another occasion and they are smoking. So, to lead other people, we need to be the role model. So self-leadership skills And leadership skills for everyday life starts by self-awareness, knowing what we do, why we do what we do, and how. So self-awareness helps us to know all these, the answer of these questions. And self-management. So if I am someone who wants to lead a team and I cannot control my listening skills, I don't have enough listening skills, I am very impulsive to just interrupt when people just start talking. Can I lead anyone? Can I lead this team? Of course not. So listening, even if you take listening skills, it's one of the most important leadership skills. But we need to first listen to ourselves. Sit, relax for only 1 minute and listen to that internal voice. What do we want to do and why? Like, even if I am now doing like coaching business, yeah, so why? Why it's important? If I want to go and see a friend or help someone, why? So I feel that we can apply leadership skills in any situation in our life, in our families' life, like to raise our kids, to manage difficult conversation, to manage any situation. So this is why I feel that leadership skills are for everyday life, and they start by self-leadership skills.
So a lot of leading by example, but starting with yourself and building outwards.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that. So looking back at your career as a whole, has there been a setback that you've had that you later realize was actually an advantage?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first one was during the Syrian civil war. I had a very successful career. I loved my job. I used to teach at least 200 students every year. I had wonderful relationship with my students, with my colleagues. And suddenly the war started. And for months, we couldn't even access our university. Things were destroyed. My home was destroyed. I felt that my career is over. There is nothing I can do like what I used to do in the past. And of course, I spent months to process and see what's next and how I can do it. So at the time, I felt, yeah, it's impossible to start my career again. But then I realized that there might be other options. And of course, after reflection, after long conversation, I can say, with myself, I decided to move to Canada. And it was a new journey, another journey. The other setback was when last year I heard that I have breast cancer, a very aggressive kind of breast cancer that I needed to start chemotherapy after only 15 days. So the first day you know that you are diagnosed, you don't have enough time to process. You go to chemotherapy with all change in your body, in your life, everything. So I also felt that after being able to establish my career in Canada, and I felt that the journey was really hard, but I did it finally. I have the good job, community, life. And suddenly I felt that I don't know myself anymore. So that also was another major event in my life where I felt that my career is over. And now, like, I know that I spent months, like, I think up to 3 months, asking why and what I can do, and is my life is over, is my career is over. Now, when I look back, I feel that it was a gift. Am I happy now that I got cancer? Of course not.
Mm.
But the gift that I realized that every one of us in our life, we will encounter challenges and major events. So either we give up or we turn this major event or adversity or problem into a gift of opportunities, of inspiration or knowledge. For me, I started learning more about myself. I started living every single day as if it's the first day in my life, with excitements, with not waiting for tomorrow, because I don't know if tomorrow comes. I don't want to live with anxiety. I want to live today with the hope and faith that there will be tomorrow, instead of the anxiety and fear that tomorrow doesn't exist at all.
Well,
So I feel that,
it's a
yeah,
reality for all of us, even though we don't realize it. None of us may have a tomorrow, but yours was right
absolutely.
in front of you.
Absolutely. And then that realization made me go into doing my training to be a professional coach, starting this business while I'm in treatment. I have been able to volunteer to support other breast cancer, other women with the breast cancer, other people who were affected in the earthquake in Syria, my community here. And I feel like, yeah, like it was a gift. And I am embracing it. I am just grateful that I was able to react this way, because to me, there were only two options. Either I go into deep depression because it hit me so hard. I spent years to fight and get my education, my career. And I was like, yeah, I was feeling I'm going into deep depression. Or no, I am self-aware. I will do something different. So yeah.
Your outlook and the way that you've been able to adjust is really just amazing. Do you have any advice or just encouragement for anyone who's going through any major life intersections like you faced twice? Once when the war broke out and once with your cancer diagnosis. Do you have any advice on how they can adjust, I guess, to maybe a different life, or resetting their views of their future to something that they could be really happy with?
Mm-hmm. I think I can speak of 2 points. The first one, we need to take our time to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
It took me, during the war, it took me 2 years to just realize that, you know what, I cannot do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I need to change something. And I started communicating with universities, trying to find a job opportunities, etc. For my cancer, it took me at least 3 months to realize that there might be something different, or I can do something different. So it takes some time to grieve, and it's okay to process and to give ourselves time to do things. Like listening to ourselves is really very important. The second major point or more major factor that helped me is to ask for help. So asking for help, for example, during the war, I couldn't ask for help from my students, from my family, from my colleagues. We were all in the same boat. But I had connections from outside Syria, from people who were far from my problem, and they see things differently. I have a friend in Ottawa who always encourages me to see life from different perspectives. So when things were so bad, I used to email my friend Dean, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times. Sometimes I start the email, listen, I am very annoying today, and please just listen to me. I feel there is no future. I feel I have no hope. I am like hopeless, whatever. So I start by explaining this is the situation. And my friend was very patient with me and supporting me all the time and reminding me all the time of my strengths and what I can do. Sometimes, and he was reminding me, listen, I'm your friend, but I want to tell you that sometimes I want to tell you the reality, the truth. If sometimes you are a little bit negative, I'm going to say to you that you are negative today. You like that victim mentality. So yes, I'm your friend, but I'm not always with you to say, yes, 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 you are doing the right thing. And I loved that. I was always looking for people who support me and give me the real feedback. So I had mentors. I asked for feedback because that feedback helps us to see reality as it is, not as we perceive it. And during my cancer was the same. So I tried to look around me. What are the resources that I can use in order for me to just explore the options and pick one? So for the cancer, for example, is there a social worker, therapist? I have a friend who likes painting. Can you teach me how to paint? I don't know how to paint. I just want to sit and relax. So maybe we can do something together. For example, I hired a cancer coach. I hired a life coach for my daughter. This is what I meant by asking for help. So asking for help could be like it takes different I can say style. So I hired a coach. I hired a cancer coach for my career coach because I felt that my career is threatened.
Yeah.
I hired a cancer coach, life coach for my daughter because she had anxiety and she was unable to see her mom changing the way that I was changing. I had friends. I organized, like I say, I know that my friends are very busy. So what I do, okay, I organize visits. So I say, listen, can we get together in 1 week? Because I feel that I need to meet with people and just, socialize. So I was asking, and they love to support me. They love to help me. So of course, they said yes. So knowing what to ask and how to ask for help is very important. Because when we know how and who to ask for help and being comfortable by not being comfortable. So if someone says no, being comfortable with people saying no to you because maybe they cannot help you, and that's okay, right? So being comfortable with hearing that no, not receiving the reply, having no expectation, I can say. Zero expectation. Yes, I want to ask my friend for support and help. Can you drive me to the hospital? But I have zero expectation because maybe this person has different situations that I'm not aware of. They don't want to share stories with me. So all of that is very important. And the final point I can say, sharing our stories. Some people get inspired by living stories. So when I started my cancer, it was new for me. So I don't know who had cancer in the past. I was looking for people who are women professional, highly qualified women who had that cancer and they survived and came back to life stronger. I want a living example. So I was looking through the internet. I don't want someone who did that 20 years ago because life was different.
Mm-hmm.
I want someone who did that a few years ago. So what kind of things they did? Oh, they used Facebook groups, or they used this app, or they used this. So that inspired me. So this is why I also share my story now.
It's so important because it can be something very private, and that must be respected. But for people who are okay with sharing, it is so important for other people going through that to, one, know that they're not alone, but two, get inspiration and just get a sense of community and relating to someone else. It can be so important just to see that you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And this is something that I realized, that not everyone is comfortable sharing their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And because I feel I am comfortable, so I said, you know what? I am a public speaker. I love talking to people. I love telling stories. You know what? I will share my story as well. And in fact, it took me time. Like a lot of my friends didn't know that I had cancer. Everyone saw me just absent. Like people didn't see me. They were wondering. And after, I think, 6 months, I posted something on Facebook about that. And my people in my network connected with me, and we are so sorry. We didn't know that and stuff. So my point is, it took me time to be comfortable sharing my story. But once I realized it and was comfortable talking about it, I just started doing it. Because remember, when we had cancer at certain point with no hair and like eyelashes, eyebrows, and the chemo affects our face color, everything, sometimes it's so hard to even show up or just stand in front of the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's very honorable that you're going forward with that, because I think it'll really help a lot of people. And now with going through that and deciding to tell your story, along with the changes in career and country and the developments you're making now and your coaching business, we've talked about it before, the feeling of foreign. How were you able to overcome this feeling of foreign when you first start the learning process of taking something new on, and get that excitement there instead?
Well, it's not an easy process, but I think that being humble, and secondly, having a growth mindset helps a lot. Being humble, for example, when I came to Canada, I left behind me 10 years of Korea as a university professor, standing in front of a class, minimum 150 to 200 students. I came with a work permit, but I worked as a researcher. So in Syria, I was leading research, supervising people who are doing the research.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, I came back doing the research as someone who freshly finishes their PhD.
So backwards.
Absolutely. So at first, it was not easy, and especially doing the research. That means you go to the lab, you have your corner, you don't talk to anyone. Especially in the scientific field, everything we do, chemistry and stuff, is very sensitive. So you really have to be focused on what you do. So no interaction with others. as much as other jobs or other career. So I used to have those students coming talking to me. I have my office, my labs, etc. I came here to be working with someone else. I have my own little space in the lab. However, I knew it's temporary. I knew that it's just a stepping stone in my next move, in my next career. So I need to be humble enough to get that job, which is a great job, but I was senior compared to that job. But I am humble enough to learn from others. I need to learn about the culture. I need to learn about these norms. I need to understand people. There are so many things I don't know. I honestly, it's a joke. I need to tell you this story. So I felt that I lived 6 years in France, and I thought when I came to Canada, especially in Saskatchewan, I felt like it's the same. So in the morning, good morning. In France, you say bisous, bisous, you kiss the cheeks and stuff. I came here. Things are totally different. I'm not in France. So it was so funny to start the first week and look at people around me like, you need to learn everything around you, right? Having that, like being humble helped me so much. Secondly, growth mindset, being curious, being a learner. I'm a learner. I don't mind learning from someone who is just student, 20 years younger than me, whatever, older than me. I do not mind. I just want to learn. And that helped me so much because that helped me asking questions to learn instead of assuming what I need to do. I used to ask questions to understand exactly what's going on, what I need to do. Being courageous, in fact, to ask those questions, we need courage to ask the questions, because sometimes people, like when I used to ask questions, people think that, like, what? Like, you don't know that in the past? Yeah, I know it, but I want to learn your answer to this question. Because you are in a different situation, you are in a different country, different culture. Your answer to the same question might be totally different. So being courageous enough to ask those questions, to learn more, will help so much in making new things more familiar to us.
That's brilliant. I can see where it could be difficult to exhibit those two characteristics, but how it's so important.
Absolutely.
And out of curiosity, did you find many differences between the processes in the labs in Syria versus in Saskatchewan?
Absolutely. Even between in Saskatchewan and in France, like, I know that when I was in France, I was a PhD student for 6 years. We had certain protocols, standard, work ethics, etc. In Syria, it's different because it's different culture. In Canada, it's different. I traveled to China also. Spent also like I worked with Jinan University for a while, and I noticed the difference in culture between countries. One example, for example, in France, they have that culture that everyone in the lab, including the janitor, comes to the coffee time. So we start working at 8, at 10, we have half an hour coffee time. Everyone comes to the room, to the coffee room to
That's
have
really
coffee
nice.
and to socialize and to know each other and build relationship. Take a break and build relationship. And unfortunately, I found that here in North America, it's not the culture. You go wherever you want at any time and you go to Tim Hortons. So it's really different. And in terms of scientific work and lab work, it's kind of, we have international standard, but still, depending on the culture, you will feel you will like notice some differences. And this is what I talk about it. In fact, I talked and I wrote about it. Cultural intelligence.
We had a speaker once. I worked in a different department in the government. We had a speaker come talk to us about it. And I think it was about an hour talk. And it was so very interesting. And the one that shocked everyone in the room the most, I think, because it's never come to our awareness because we're so entrenched in it, getting in a line is a cultural norm. You can travel to other places in the world where people do not get in line for things. They just do what they need to do. And North Americans will see that as rude, but it's just a cultural thing. And it was so very interesting afterwards traveling and understanding a bit more and having that compassion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And in fact, being aware of that is very important to lead any team, to succeed in any job. So I can give you an example. When I was in France, of course, like I learned all these, standard of code of ethics, etc., for working in the lab. Came back to Syria. My students, like, they used to have different things. Like if the meeting is at 10, they come at 10:10 or 10:15. And it's very, very normal for the culture there. Even if you have a visitor, it's well seen, like it's seen better if you come a little bit later, like 5 minutes later, because you give the host time to be really well prepared. That was really in the past, and I hate that. So, and being a mom, being a university professor, I need to manage my time like very carefully. So I saw this trend with my students, and I started that conversation with them. Listen, I know that this is the norm for you, and I totally understand, but I want you to start learning the norm, the new norm, which is 10 is 10. And this class starts at 10. If you come at 10, you are welcome to come. If you don't come at 10, I might not open the door. And at first, like, what? They were not happy. But when I explained to them that it will save your time and my time, they thought of it differently. And I feel, and I've received so many, I received feedback about, you know what, you're communicating with us the value of the new norm, changed our position. And this is exactly the same here. Like, I know that in Canada, it's a country of immigrants. And every one of us comes with their own culture. And I love being in that Canadian, I can say, culture. We are all Canadians. I'm very happy to say that because a few months ago, I became Canadian. So I'm so proud of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, in fact, it's so important to explain those little things to people. So the team work together in a different way. Because if we don't do that, we will judge those people. But those people do not know that they are judged because of this behavior. Take, for example, the scent. Like, a lot of people like to wear perfume. While in Saskatchewan, for example, most places, they have that scent-free sign. And as a new immigrant, even for me, it was like, come on, you don't like perfume? I love perfume. I was in France. I love perfume. But and then I understood why and the importance of that. So the cultural intelligence is, I think, it's very important.
Absolutely. Let's look towards the future, and I apologize for my dog in the background. Let's look towards the future. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Well, I am hoping to be a very well recognized leadership coach and food scientist at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to help and empower more science professionals, be a role model, and help more people. My hope in the future, let's say 10 years, my long-term goal is to support displaced scientists and refugees as part or as side activities of my job. Because people who are displaced or refugees, they need different kind of support. They want to relate to the person who are speaking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who never, who they never went through all this process, the war, being a refugee, feeling that we don't belong, etc. Refugees cannot listen to stories unless they relate to it. I think everyone the same. So anyway, this is kind of my ultimate goal, to work with international organizations to support those people. My short-term goal is to keep working as a food scientist to empower other researchers working in the food security and support and coach science professionals to reduce the gap between science and life. So as scientists, we are very proud of our qualification. We work in the lab, we invent, we create, but sometimes we forget what the customer needs, what people need. Do they really need this innovative product? Are we really answering their demand? So I love helping science professionals build their brand, show their worth, their expertise, and tell their story in a very simple way so anyone can understand science. And science is not only for just elite, for highly qualified people.
So would part of that being bringing it more to the mainstream, like the more front of people's minds?
Absolutely. And this is why I like to talk on platforms, because I'm a scientist, but I like to simplify examples, simplify stories so anyone can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I don't want to.
I was going to say, I think it's very, very important. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't want to forget that my job and my business on coaching, on leadership coaching, my as I mentioned, my ultimate goal is to have the capacity and ability to support displaced scientists, refugees, and women, especially women from minorities, women with breast cancer. So all of that, something that I feel that I am always motivated to support and help.
So that brings us to motivation. On a day-to-day basis, because I think, on a whole, we can see where your motivation comes from, and it's very innate. But on a day-to-day basis, how do you create motivation for yourself to accomplish whatever you've set out for that day or for that week?
Yeah. I believe in the power of planning and setting goals.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a goal and I plan to have a goal and I wrote if I use normally the SMART technique to write my goals, that means my goal is specific, is measurable, is bound to time. So if I say, for example, before the end of the year, I want to publish my book, which I'm working on now. So what motivates me to read or to write every single day is I have that goal. So I have the goal, I break it down into little tasks on daily basis. So what motivates me, I think it's just those little goals that I set up for myself. What motivates me that I have that self-awareness, that I have this gift, that I believe that God gave me this gift to share it. I cannot keep it to myself. I need to share it with others. So I feel I'm reminded every single day of this gift. And when I'm setting my goals and I am planning ahead, I feel that keeps me on track to stay motivated.
On days that you feel unmotivated, and I think we all have days like that where we just can't get the engine going, do you find yourself with your newfound discovery of this weakness that you've discovered recently, that you let yourself feel that and, you know, give yourself more of a break? Or do you try and find a way to get that motivation back?
Well, you know, it depends. I think it depends, and I consider that any feeling that we have, any moments of weakness, any moment when we are not motivated, and it's really crucial that we listen to ourselves and differentiate between reality and illusion, reality and what we perceive as reality, and just take time to process, give ourselves a break to reflect. And then the most important part of this is not sitting dwelling on things and dwelling on the problem, feeling that we are victim for having this problem. So it's okay to feel sad, but it's not okay to stay sad without doing anything, to just investigate what can we do. And this is, so it's if I feel that today I'm not motivated to do anything and I feel tired, I feel that I'm okay with taking a break. And I think this is what I noticed in my schedule. What I do is always add what I call it buffer time. So if I have a deadline, let's say at the end of the month, my deadline will be the 25th of the month. So this is how I give myself time in case I have any problem. I can adjust. And you know what? Sometimes in life comes and circumstances happens to us, or problems, or let's say you have accident, you have illness, you have whatever. Being adjustable, like being adaptable, building that resiliency is important to navigate those moments.
And you're in a place now where you have two very significant roles in terms of your job. What do you feel is the best educational preparation for either or both careers?
Well, for my scientist hat, it's all about finishing the first degree at the university and then staying up to date, like being in this world. And specifically now, I think that every one of us, all of us, under that pressure of change and how to navigate the change and how to learn to adapt to the new reality. And the last, like just the ChatGPT or things that we learned recently give you an example that things are changing a lot. And it's very important to keep that growth mindset, curiosity, and learn. For
Mhm.
example, for us as scientists, we have the academia, we have conferences, everyone has their own area of expertise. They need to um, stay connected to their peers, and it's so good to stay connected with interdisciplinary field.
Mhm.
For the coaching, it's so important as well to be recognized by like international organizations. For me, like the International Coaching Federation is my like it's something that I'm a member of, and I want to keep growing through that organization. There are different credentials that helps me to stay focused, to practice more, stay within that standard and code of ethics that they put together. So other for the coaching as well, staying on contact with other coaches is, to me, is very important because we learn from each other.
So that brings me to my next question, but I think for the next few questions, we'll the same question, but for both hats, the scientist hat and your coaching hat. What social obligations come along in either and both fields?
Well, see, I'm doing science and coaching for scientists, so I feel that they are really the same. Yeah, so I feel that we need to create impact in people's life, and science can answer a lot of questions, solve a lot of problems. People who choose to go to higher education, to research, are so smart, and they are creating solutions to major problems. Like, I was very fortunate to try treatment for my cancer that was not available 15 years ago. And
Great.
that increased the life span for women with this kind of cancer. So empowering those scientists, helping them overcome certain limitation, cultural limitation, or limited beliefs, self-confidence, time management, etc. Helping them will help us have more social impact, sustainable impact, helping them to live their life while they are creating is amazing, because there are, like, in the past, I heard it from so many women, especially women, that I don't want to go into a scientist career because I cannot have a family. So supporting women to share their gift, what I can say is sharing their gift with the world is so important, because at the end, if it creates what I can call the ripple impact, so little change, and it will accumulate, and it will create further impact and further change and effects.
And so in essence, what you're doing is creating the space for a shift in the culture. So how would you describe the culture in the scientific world?
I think we feel that we need to, I think the scientists are under the pressure of giving more and more and more. So you need to go to the lab to do your research. You need to write papers. You need to get your paper accepted. You need to get money for the research. So all of that adds a lot of pressure on our head. we need to succeed, but we need also to be comfortable with rejection from a journal, rejection from a funding agency, rejection from an employer who didn't see our qualifications, or maybe they don't need it. So we need to manage that environment. But at the same time, the culture of like in our scientists' world, there is a lot of innovation, creativity, collaboration, especially nowadays, collaboration between different, I can say, interdisciplinary collaboration. And that's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Sounds very exciting. I mean, exhausting in one sense, and on the other sense, very exciting. And so, you know, it must have some kind of balance in some way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on. You mentioned ChatGPT. There have been so many innovations in the past 10, 15 years. What are the current issues and trends in the fields that you're working in that those who are interested in those fields should be aware of?
Yeah, so I think the first one that comes to mind is technology tools. Because if you go and you Google it, or if you ask ChatGPT, you will find limitless resources. So we are in that age of abundance of information. And for someone who's a learner or a researcher, that means people are like, we just ask questions, we want to learn more and more. So we sometimes feel that we are overwhelmed by what to use. So using the right tools of technology that increases efficiency, increases that life-work harmony, I can say, is very important. In the scientific world, the challenges are mainly in the technology side and keeping that growth mindset. If like in the research, we cannot say, oh, I learned it, it's done. Even if you use a certain device or analytical tool, they update it regularly. So we need to keep that learner mindset. For the coaching business, what I noticed recently that some people without proper training and education, they try to do coaching. And through my training as a university professor, as a mentor, as a trainer, I know the difference between consulting, training, mentorship, therapy, and coaching. They are really different. And it's very important to just separate and be transparent about what we do. So if I am doing coaching and consulting, I need to tell my clients that I am doing both. So they understand the difference. I think this is one of the things that I really care about, like just being transparent about what we are doing. And for coaching, yes, I know that there are a lot of noise, a lot of, oh, you can be a six-figure coach in a few months, etc. So once you say to the world, I'm a coach, you get all those ads, all people contacting you. And it's at certain points, it's really overwhelming to know what to choose and where or how to set those boundaries to just grow the business and be authentic as much as we want.
Now we can look at this from either or. I'll let you decide. When people leave this career, either as a scientist or as a coach, What's the usual reason, as far as you know, or in your experience, in your observations, or through colleagues?
Yeah. So I think in the scientific world, the pressure, as I mentioned before, and the stress is so high that you are always constantly working towards like getting approval for the fund, getting approval for the publication, learning things. So it's a lot of pressure. It's constant change. And if we are not comfortable with learning and managing change, it's really hard to be working in science. For the coaching, what I learned so far, it's hard to market. If you like, as a new coach, it's hard to market ourselves in a way that attracts clients to get enough income. So not having that sustainable income makes a lot of people go back again to be an internal coach or to corporate job, because it's hard to maintain like the like pipeline of clients or being have a sustainable income. So those are, to me, like what I found so far, the main reason for quitting one of these career.
Now, if you had to pick one thing for each that you wish you had known before becoming a scientist, before becoming a coach, is that what you would point to? The pressure and, the having that continuity with clients. Yeah. So you mentioned that, you asked for help and you're not afraid of looking for resources. In terms of those areas that you wish you had known about, like the pressure and, the getting the clients in and ensuring that you're getting the right kinds of clients for your work as well. Do you find that you've had the ability to have mentors come in and help you kind of make a frame around those so that you can better tackle them?
Yeah. You mentioned a very important point about mentorship. In all my life, I had mentors, but I feel now I could have done better in having more mentors and more coaches. Because, for example, in every area of your life, you need a mentor. And you need to have those conversation. Like sometimes in our career, we feel that we cannot ask the question because people sees us as expert, right? So you cannot ask certain questions. While with mentors or coaches, that space, safe space is there. So you can share all this information because you know that the person is not judging you. And I think having more mentors, or at least like participating in groups or being part of groups is very helpful. And I discovered the power of groups when I started my coaching and my breast cancer treatment. So I was like, I'm involved in so many groups, and I felt that whatever the questions that people ask, the issues that they experience, they either I relate to those, or they help me to be more informed. So I know ahead a lot of things.
That's so important to get that diversity of viewpoints.
Absolutely.
Coming in.
Yeah.
So what kind of experience, paid or unpaid, would you encourage for anyone who's interested in pursuing a career in either field?
Yeah. So I think for food science is a very well-known path. People know exactly what to do, but for coaching, I think, to me, having basic training with any organization that is accredited with the International Coaching Federation is very essential. I feel that when I want to deal with people, if I see some credibility for what they are offering, that will change the client's mindset, right? So International Coaching Federation provides a lot of resources, and there are so many organizations. Like recently, I was very impressed by an organization called Lean In Circles, and they provide extremely helpful resources
They do.
that you can apply, and you have guidance to do all of that. I find local organizations, there are so many local organizations where you can, like networking events, you can go and do like training as well. I personally feel, because I'm someone who likes to learn and explore so many things, sometimes financial capacity is like limiting my ability to do certain things. But what I found, that there are so many free resources that a person can rely on to just keep trying things until we know exactly what we want to do.
And where do you find you've gone the most in terms of free resources? Is there a place, whether on the internet or a library or elsewhere, where you find yourself looking to the most?
See, honestly, I learned so much from books. Like, I went to the library and I just borrow books and I read and I study the books, in fact. And then Facebook groups were really helpful. LinkedIn groups were really helpful. And to just get insights of what to do. And as I mentioned, I'm a member of the International Coaching Federation, and the federation has local chapters everywhere. So in the prairies, there is the ICF, International Coaching Federation Prairie chapter. So because I'm a member of the international organization, so I'm automatically a member of the local organization. And what it like being a member with the local community helped me to practice coaching, to connect to coaches. To recently, I got a volunteering job as director of programming for the coaching local chapter.
That's wonderful.
So you got that learning opportunities, marketing opportunities, because when you volunteer with these local organizations, you will be promoted indirectly. You will be connected to other people. People will know about you. So I found out they are very helpful as well. I found a lot of resources, as you mentioned, online, like just search local networking events and you find so many organizations that they just want to connect people.
And what's a typical day or week like for you?
Oh God. Well, as someone who is just trying to go back to normal life, because with the treatment and going to the hospital, my life was around that. But a typical day would be like walking in the morning, waking up early, go for a walk, because I feel that being in nature is very helpful to just release pressure and have some meditation while walking. And then doing my job, I take a lunch break. And in the evening, every single day, I need to have something different. Like, for example, you watching something on TV or communicating with someone, going to do certain activities. I play table tennis. I used to play tennis. I love Latin dance. I also go to Latin dance, certain days a week. So I try to commit myself, in fact, to certain activities. So when I am working, I know that I have this class or I have this group, and I need to go and join them. So there is no excuses that I'm still working. And of course, like I always like to communicate with my family back in Syria. I like to talk to my friends. So yeah.
It sounds like you've found a way to have a good balance in your life and to keep things, a bit separate, but to keep your interests still within all aspects of your life.
Absolutely. And I think it's something that when like I look at my kids, for example, we grow we grow in life, and we go through times where we like to have fun in our life, we're not serious, and we go to that, oh my God, I need to work, I need to do this and that, I save money. But when we are in our midlife, like myself, we understand the importance of that balance in life and living life every day with that excitement as it's the first day of our life, not the last day. Okay, because we have abundance here. So I think this comes after my 40s, where I just realized that I'm so busy. I don't have any other thing in my life other than job and science. So how to include those in my daily life? So I did so many tips and tricks so I can have those moments in my life.
Is there a big project that you're currently working on or that you've wrapped up recently that you can tell us about?
Well, I am going to launch my business as a professional coach, because coaching, training, consulting, teaching was part of my job in the past. It was never a solo or side hustle thing that I'm working on. So I will be going back to my job, but I'm also building this side hustle job as a leadership coach. And I am hoping in the future, in the near future, that I can have sustainable income from this leadership coaching. So I am launching my website before my birthday, which is in October. And with my website, there will be a program on positive intelligence as a coaching tool, and on personal branding for scientists. So I'm very excited. I'm working on those two programs, and I'm very excited about them.
That sounds really, really fun. And I think I can speak for everyone when I say we wish you the best of luck with not only the launch, but the business as a whole. And I'd like to thank you so much, Rana, for taking the time today to speak to me and tell everyone about all these amazing things that you've done, what you're working on, and how people can learn from your experiences. Before I let you go, I'd like to give you the floor. If you have a few words of advice or inspiration for anyone who's looking into going into the scientific field or to take on coaching.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Firstly, thank you so much for giving me this space to share my story. And what I want to say to people who are going through difficulties, two things that I used as my mantra. First one, don't look back. You are not going that way. Second, it's my favorite quote from Rumi. Rumi said, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop." And that mantra, or that quote, tells us that we have the power inside us. And we can do a lot of things. So I would be more than happy to help people who are going through transition. And I'm sure we will share my contact information. I have Instagram, I have LinkedIn, and anyone who wants to work with me, I would be more than happy to collaborate with them. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Rana.
Thank you.